Yeah.
And you can really see this like epic dent I have on my nose right now because I actually don't remember if it's from James dropping a soundbar on my face or if it was from something else.
What?
I got hit in the face. Okay, so
Because soundbars usually get mounted low.
oh, he was doing it and dropped it on my face.
Why?
Okay, so I will admit this was at least partially my fault.
So, was that it looked like I wanted a soundbar.
Okay. It was actually a coordinated effort to capture a shot. But
Okay.
actually, at least
That's falling through the air?
I'm supposed to fall into hands.
Okay.
So it was difficult with the framing of the shot for James to just. Like, I mean, imagine this. I'm sitting here posting a video to you right now. It's taking the whole thing. So he's standing like in me
And they start stroking.
hold this thing, and it's hard for him to exactly is down. Well, the team fell. Over Killington says your nose is really big, huh? Yeah. So it's funny. I'm going to tell a different story now because I remember having this conversation with my mother at one point when I was in high school, and I said something. Yeah. I took the picture this way, like from the front, because from the side you can have a really big nose, and she goes, "You don't have a big nose." Oh, yeah, I do, and she goes, "No, that's not true." And I get watch. Yes, I know. Thank you. I totally have a big nose. I don't need you to inform me of a nose situation.
That's amazing.
Anyway, so do that to this fail. So James is holding some of me, and it's good for him. And in his defense, he also didn't do an amazing job. Okay, so I'm talking about this. There's somewhere I'm supposed to leak. I'm supposed to fall into hands. Also didn't lean back. Could have because I was a little bit concerned leaning out of the focus of the
yeah.
and it you're trying to pull like a coordinated shot. Can you do like here. Madrina's is one of our sponsors today. So take a Madrina's and then hit me with it. Boom. Like, we didn't even look. Well, sometimes you don't look. This is far.
It hit you like on the nose.
So it came like this.
So it was really close.
So it wasn't that close because it before the conversation with my mother once about this, something that knows and would be.
Okay, your nose isn't that big, dude.
It's
Small nose.
I had a conversation with her about this once. I was saying like if face is supposed to have got like these breakouts, and she's worse breakouts than I do, like as a general rule. Like she doesn't, her skin's fine, which is what it is.
Most people don't say that about their spouse.
Yeah, but yet it's good to have. Okay, let's relationship tips for a moment here. It's a good relationship where you can be honest with each other. Because
This with hundreds of thousands of people.
I tell that to her face.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But you're also broadcasting it to the.
I guess. I mean, they advise. You know, it's not. She's like, I think really. I was complaining about it, and she's basically like, you know, you're winning because your skin's overall pretty good. But the thing that's frustrating is I can see it, and she'd be able this takes a significant field of view.
Really?
I can okay. So I can see. Let's go with okay. I can see all the way to the very edge of that light. Okay.
Okay.
So when my nose sticks out, I can see out to the mic stand. So that's where you're from view, and you can see through both of
What's that too? Like, I think I can see those as try to see.
Oh, because she's Chinese, so she has her face. Like
She can't see.
her nose is small.
Yeah,
Like even a little.
It's okay.
Not to the same degree.
But if you're not thinking about it, you don't generally see your nose.
No, if there's a red mark. Sure.
It makes it a little.
It's really noticeable.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
really noticeable.
Yeah.
If you're like racist, no, it's just not racist. It just is what it is. I don't make the rules. Speaking of Kingles, let's go through what's some. What do we today?
Yeah. Into your till 2020.
Isn't
this is more delays or clarification on a previous delay?
It's more nice, like necessarily, but it has definitely delayed some stuff over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This delay has been like realized. We're being like, okay, this is the date that it's actually coming. We knew it was delayed.
7% today, I think. Meanwhile, AMD's picked, I think, 17% yesterday.
Speaking of the next best quarterly profit in 7 years.
It should be clear. Next profit really has to be like profitable.
Yeah.
It's good though. It's good news. It's good news. There's a NVIDIA next-gen card details apparently leaking. So Benson did go on stage saying there's no new gaming graphics cards coming, but usually when the leaks come in this hard and this heavy, that's an indication that what he said had been a big fat, what's the word?
Lie?
That there's not to be disparaging. big fat statement that it wasn't entirely based on given that he's the CEO and he knows what's going on, presumably.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually didn't realize that Stephen Colbert's been doing the allegedly thing like years before I started doing it. That was a joke.
So did I.
Yeah, he's allegedly like all the time.
I don't have HBO.
Actually, okay with coming up with the same joke as Colbert and his writing because they're professionals.
Good writing staff.
Yeah.
I think that's all we need to call out.
Let's roll the intro. Oh, where is it? Yeah. Get me some energy.
Where's HBO? Oops.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, it's insignificant. That's the correct.
It is.
Seeing those used to be at parties kind of.
Actually.
Actually, it's GNU plus Linux. I've been or whatever new.
GNU.
Sorry, GNU.
It's my computer. I'm so busy.
Which like scripted and actually.
That's fantastic.
And he like explains the whole GNU plus Linux blah blah thing. It's pretty great. And the funny thing is like there's gonna be Linux fanboys out there. But those kinds of people that probably refer to themselves as PC master race, not realizing that the whole thing was who feel like that's the whole origin of it was that it was like a the words failing me.
Escape.
No, not sarcastic, not
I was gonna say what the source was.
Not facetious. I'm just trying to figure out what the it was supposed to be a satirical thing, like you were being made fun of. So you told him you were actually the butt of the joke. And we actually talked about this while he was down here. Just like, the biggest problem with Linux in a lot of ways.
This is the second time I've heard about you independently having a conversation with him that mirrors an exact conversation that I had with him separately.
So funny. The biggest problem is that when you love something so much, and that's what the Linux community does. They love Linux so much. And to be clear, Linux is a good thing.
It's a good thing to love.
But when you love it so much that you can't see the flaws, then that's where you start to make it hard for other people to share your love.
Yeah.
Like, he was saying something. I was like, so someone's going to put me in charge of Linux because no one is, strictly speaking, in charge of Linux. I was in charge. In some sense, where you make a GitHub page, copy string text, and paste into like a prompt to install. This 2018. This 2018 is a operating system.
Of things are more mainstream alternatives to that.
Yeah.
Just an App Store style thing on any of the distros. And you can install them because it's Linux if you're a distro that doesn't natively have it.
I mean, even the whole thing with there being so many different distros. So if you're, I mean, this is something that I was talking to one of the writers about in my office. We were reviewing a script and we were just chatting about how frustrating it is to have to deal with product names that are either very similar or the same. So when you're trying to find information on like the MacBook, like I guess it was a 2015. So if you don't know to search for 2015 MacBook, or as a searcher,
don't.
If you're Google, you're trying to figure out MacBook is looking, you do a pretty good job. But if they're trying to find like a fix for a weird bug, or if they're trying to find something like a teardown or an upgrade guide or a replacement part or something stupid like that, how difficult that makes life. I mean, to the average person, and I feel like another thing that a lot of the very techie community loses track of, to the average person, there is no awareness whatsoever that Linux is anything other than Linux. They don't know Arch, Debian, CentOS. They don't know any of that stuff. It's just Linux. So if you were to try to search how to install program in Linux, we should try it. Let's do it right now. How to install program in Linux.
I'm going to assume that there's going to be like alternate stuff.
All right, here. Let's hold on. Let's screenshot. Let's have the experience too.
Mint.
Mint. Begin.
People will be running that.
Let's give it a shot. Beginner Geek. How to install software on Linux. Works differently. Instead of visiting a website, you'll usually need to grab the software from your Linux distribution software repositories with its package manager. Already dead.
It's actually quite easy. You're going to use the like story kind of thing.
Yes. It's
called package manager, so people are likely gone. That's where you lose them.
From your distribution's repositories. And the reality of it is like we live in this sort of this bubble where we just kind of go, people should just know. But it's funny because for you, try staying outside of your usual comfort zone, which might be tech, and go to a hardware store and shop for a tool. Or go to a makeup store and shop for makeup.
There's going to be the guys that know all the hardware stuff and are in this space, and there's going to be the people that know all the. I should have said people for both. I'm sorry. Don't be mad. The people.
Sorry, I don't.
Your thing. Oh right. Oh jeez. It's we're just used to. It means nothing. Just.
Old scholar, new tricks.
I just say like 5 words, and we've been here for a minute. I'm so sorry. Those kids are gonna jump into chat and be like, "But I know both of them."
The point was to thing that you don't know.
Yeah.
You get into a textiles store, like I don't know, Fabricana or something, and what you find is quickly it becomes
15 different words for pet because they're technically a little bit different.
And kind of stuff is actually not simple or necessarily good use of your time when all you need that piece of fabric for is to make makeshift tablecloth.
Yeah, but you don't really care in that.
So if you really doing on your computer is reading your email, you actually will never care. The distribution repository is. You care that you don't care. You know that's actually fine.
Yeah.
Because everybody has different interests. You know, actually, I'm going to get into like, you know, all the different words to describe wine because that could probably become a different conversation. But
a $2 winning the blind wine taste test competition because that is a hilarious thing that happened. Have you heard about this whole story?
I think you've told me about it. I think you've told me on one show, but people tell us whether they want to hear it again or not.
Yeah. It's great.
Do the TLDR. Do the TLDR.
So there was a blind taste testing thing. I don't remember if the people doing it were people who were trained to become like wine reviewer people or if they were already wine reviewer people. And they had a whole bunch of different values of wines, and $2 is, you guessed it, a $2 bottle of wine. It won the competition because wine is BS, basically.
Oh man.
In my opinion, and apparently the blind taste test seems to agree with me. But I have heard from some wine people that there's also examples of the other way. So I don't know. Who knows?
Well, someone wants to know where to get a water bottle.
Because it's huge.
Amazon. It's actually not big, but it's one of the vacuum
What
ones.
you need to do is just
So
write
it's
Linus Tech
insulated?
Tips on it in black, in all black, and then just sell them.
We totally should, except that the time we watched these, even like to cover receiving them, labeling them, and shipping them out the door, they'd be like $60 water bottles. I don't remember how much this one was. It's like $25 or something like that, 25 or 30, because it's vacuum sealed, it's big, it's got a nice wide mouth, it's stainless. Actually, I'm very satisfied with this water bottle. Would happily in 10 out of 10.
Imagine this type of like print in black, like all around the
Actually, look pretty cool.
with like one little bit that just has like a safe zone around it. It says Linus Tech Tips in it.
Oh, we're working on some. Have you seen the new concept for a new hoodie?
Oh, but that's exciting.
Yeah, it's okay.
Like a lot more. I want to get floatplane hoodies.
So okay, it's not some.
Not now.
It's not like the WAN hoodie. Like it's not necessarily a tech hoodie.
That's fine.
But it's way modern in terms of like the design. What? Well, who cares if it's a final? Oh, wow. Okay, so be warning about this, Nick, up there. He can hear me because he's streaming. And be watching the WAN show at work, okay? We watched the while we're supposed to be working, Nick. That's fine. So that's. I will respect his wishes, at least until such time as he has provided me with a very compelling reason why I should listen to him.
DSRTFXGs, man, your name. It says, and instead of calling it a package manager, literally just call it the App Store or the Windows Store. It's the same thing. That's the point.
You can do that. Because like, if you start the App Store, Apple is going to be down your throat and up your butt at the same time with our entire legal team.
You could call it something that would make sense and would be fine, but they won't.
And the other thing too is that it takes
probably hurt the Linux culture. Like people won't like it.
It actually takes a lot of branding. It takes a lot of actual marketing to get people to get comfortable with something. Like sometimes that people have to hear App Store to suddenly be like, that's the friendly sounding version instead of application marketplace or whatever. You
go marketplace.
When Google changed to Play Store.
Yeah.
What was it called? Android Market before? Android
something
Marketplace?
Like that. It was a big deal when it changed it before.
And the stupid thing about it is here giving the tech community a hard time about being accepting friendlier ways of naming things and doing things at the exact same direction when Google called it the Play Store. Mad. Seriously, like I'll almost word for word. That was what I said.
To be fair, I literally remember this because we were both really angry about it. I think at that point in time, what we were angry about was that I think we thought it was like just for games, basically. Because it was actually kind of confusing when it first came out.
Right. But it had apps at the time. The things that they didn't have yet was the deep collection of movie, music, and TV show content that no in almost makes it like Google knew what they were doing with the thing.
Yeah. Absent. Oh, jeez.
Oh, people are getting suggestions. The App Store with a 0. Start no.
Portal, no.
The okay, so with new software engineers name this.
Store. It doesn't help at all. Store. No. Store. APT store is not gonna make it. No.
Yeah. What would sudo? Actually, okay, you're more in tune with the Linux community than me. It's sudo. Is it sudo or sudo? Do you pronounce it the way it's said?
A lot of people say sudo, but I
for Sudafed?
it's with the like a lot of people. It is sudo, but people say sudo.
Sudo,
but it's sudo.
Okay, so this is to the GIF argument.
I think a bit less because that's just completely BS. And this one is like actually makes sense.
This is pretty good fix right now.
And that makes no sense at all. It's actually super user do, so that makes sense. It's absurd to say sudo.
Who says? I don't know. I can't read. It's. We should just if it's silent G. Same rules like
store. That's what they should. Yeah.
Parents, because it's just my son's name is Steve, and it's like a silent G in it or whatever, and you're just like. I'm sure I'm offending someone right now, but
it is like a adult symbol.
It perfectly good spelling that everyone fully was familiar. Like you didn't have to reinvent the wheel. It's one of those names like this where most inside of that is 100% perfect phonetically. It's literally a name spelled in because A-N-E-S. I'm just like N-S.
I didn't hear the. I thought it was lawn.
I had an S, which could somewhat be justified. I had an S, line ass.
Linus, okay. In ass, wow. Nice.
I forget where I was going.
Jeez. So some people, I worry with my first name sometimes. Doesn't happen a lot more often. Doesn't happen very often now. I bet you if it was in Quebec or something, it would happen all the time.
Oh,
people would spell LUC. Yeah.
Because your last name is French.
LUC, it's not your fault even remotely. I would expect more people to do it that way because of my last name. It just doesn't happen that often.
Line S tech tips. It's like the dirty tech tips.
Yeah.
So should we do it?
I guess. I mean, we're kind of at the sponsor spot. Yeah.
So full season KTs here. Do you see? Yeah, that's certainly. Yeah, let's just go full tease and do a pick yet. So we sponsors for sponsors, the greatest sponsors. First, this is Crumbles and show. So and beauty. Madrina's coffee. Coffee with flavor from sweet and creamy flavors, cold and roasty flavors like cold brew and roast. They're delicious specialty grade blends of cold brewed coffee. So you can get 50% off. Yes, my friends. You can pay for 3 of these 6 cents. 50% for your Madrina's coffee order with discount code LIS. And first 50 people to use code LIS. Of cold brew. If you guys are free roast. Go for the 6-pack of brew.
But the roast and international.
Oh, cool. That's for these. That's for international.
Yeah.
Awesome. So my discount is for the full deals. What are they called? Jerky was coffee. Ship rates have been directly reduced to most countries, including Germany, Canada, the UK, and most of the EU. In the full world to reduce their rates internationally.
Did you make that up?
Full. Yeah.
Did you make that up?
It makes me just kind of terrible when I think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I made that. I'm sure someone's.
You were going for terrible.
Oh no! I didn't have an intent.
I thought that was actually like quite good.
Oh,
but, you know,
it was unintentional.
Whatever works.
Savage jerky. Where's the maple? Cool. Okay. Cold after the one show today, because I didn't have the Madrina's thing up. 50% Madrina's coffee. You get the point. Savage jerky. Okay, so we have a problem here. Maple bacon is there's maple. So I'm actually gonna do the sweet. Something for the sweet search of bacon. Well, you original.
Sure.
So sweet search of BQ and a search bacon. I don't think I tried this one. So with preservatives to create It's both flavor and not good for you. They have 13 different flavors of drink. Includes chicken, buffalo bacon. Oh, maple buffalo bacon. Maple buffalo bacon. I shouldn't use it too hard. Like, order flavors that sound good to you, because I give other people, they weren't into it, but they make their stuff of it. Additional, they make barbecue sauce, hot sauce, and a spice. They're gonna repurpose. Uses 100% of the canary repurpose. You can use LTT to save 10% on all of their products.
My favorite one is the Mojo Jalapeno.
Actually, it's not like super sweet. It's not like honey sweet like the maple honey. I guess is maple blue. Like the maple bacon.
Okay.
Oh, it's not bad actually. And you can save MK2 Mechanical Keyboard, which was a date from their previous and favorite. It's an Mark II. Ah, I get it. And so they just ordinary silent editions with offering smooth and linear actuation, while the silent can sound by 30%. Perfect for users who are streaming, or who work in office, or who game late at night, like next to someone who is sleeping. 100% de-ghosting with 104 key rollover to ensure that no matter how many limbs you use to mesh on your keyboard, your keystrokes will be fully registered, built-in storage to allow you to take all of your and, more importantly, RGB configurations with you on the go. The keyboard is a built-in USB pass-through that's available from your PC to be passed through to your smartphone, and you can check out the link below, which I don't know what the link is. Oh boy, it's Genie.S/H Big J A Big B. So that was elegant. Or Luke is going to pay for this in a minute.
Yeah. It's not going to work. There you go. There you go. It's linked.
There you go. Fantastic. Subscription. It's episode 2 already, and it's gonna episode 3 on Sunday. It's gonna be good stuff.
Have you been watching?
Actually, I'm not caught up right now. I know.
Neither am I.
Oh,
I'm halfway through the second episode.
I've been pulling, and the food like want to get the popcorn and watch it together. So
between the craziness that has been going on in terms of like work stuff at Floatplane lately, because there's fun things happening, and wedding this weekend, it's been like, what? Yeah. I will watch it.
Are you Best Men and stuff?
I am, and I have a giant sword. It's awesome. Like actual though, like it's made out of steel and stuff.
For what? Is it like a spoiler if you tell me, or?
It's a little bit, but I doubt anyone that's gonna. There's like, okay, so my pretty understand it, and the only other person that I know of that's gonna be there that's going to watch this already knows the whole thing. So Best Man is a bit of a truncation. It used to be Best Swordsman.
Really?
And the idea was that the best swordsman wasn't your best friend. It was the best person in your circle of people at utilizing a sword. And it was for very practical reasons, because back then you used to more or less steal your wife. Or somebody object to you marrying that person because it might be in a form of trade.
I object, and then
swing, let's go. And it would be your best man as your champion, basically. Your best swordsman would be championing for you. Oh. Yeah. And back in the day, there's the ceremony and then there's the reception. There's actually quite a bit to it, but there's the ceremony and then the reception. This is just kind of a funny part. During the reception, the bride and the groom would go off to consummate the marriage, and they would come back and then everyone would have dinner. It's not really how that works anymore.
I mean, you could probably pull off. Like, technically, people have to do a photo shoot. That photo shoot could be very naked.
It could. It definitely could. It's not generally done anymore. At that time, the best man doesn't hang out with the other people. The best man goes with the bride and groom. But into the room, he stands outside the door. No, I don't know. It's good. Yes, it would be. You stand outside the door because until they've completed the consummation, the marriage isn't final. So someone may try to come and steal the bride before that happens. So you just not outside the door anymore, though. If you have history, you can look up. I'm bringing a sword kind of as a joke. It's not like a super serious thing. Yeah.
That was both distinct. I appreciate it. Let's do big. And Steven posted this on the original was from over 3D. That looks like until May of delayed.
Womp womp.
I mean, it's like until what 2020. Oh, dang! I think it's 2020 for server. It was 2019 for consumer. Something along those lines. Here, we can have a look at this here. So
someone in the chat said swords are heavy, Luke. It's also if it's on the ground, it goes up to here on me.
Really?
It's Indoril. It's the reforged sword. It's Aragorn's blade from Lord of the Rings.
Of course it is.
Heck yeah. Like full tilting through the entire thing. It's not like you could sharpen it and it would be very, very real. It's not sharp though.
Okay.
It's freaking sweet. Anyways.
So we're getting a stake and okay, whatever. Until some in 2020, I guess, is the point. So Intel has already acknowledged, that they're going to lose some server market share to AMD and their EPYC architecture, or their EPYC processors based on their Zen architecture. This is looking pretty bad. This gives AMD like looks like over 2 years to steal market share from Intel. And in the server space, if AMD had a performance or a cost advantage or even a significant technological advantage for, let's say, 6 months, or even 18 months, Intel probably wouldn't care. Because what consumers don't realize is the lead times on this kind of technology, these kinds of parts, and the development process is very long. So in fact, that they were shipping, let's say today, right now, mid-2018, was serving the needs of their customers reasonably well. And AMD launched some kind of disruptive technology today. Intel's already working on, like they wouldn't have a roadmap for these processors if they weren't doing work on them. So already working on the tech that they're planning to launch in 2020.
Yeah.
AMD's compelling performance advantage, IT departments or sysadmins or supercomputer architects, I'm looking at it and say, working something 2020 will be ready. We'll get you some stuff early so that you can make sure that you're delaying your project too much.
So you know how much heat you're going to deal with.
So you can push the CPUs at the last minute while you ramp up by time. Something like 18 months, a project like that wouldn't be an unreasonable amount of time to ask someone to wait. The problem is that AMD launched Zen, a year ago?
It's been a while.
AMD launched, I think it was about a year ago. So no, AMD is in a position where they have a compelling offering, not just for a short period of time, but for a long enough period of time that the managers or the procurement officers or whoever's working on sourcing
slightly over a year ago
for their server is able to look at it, some experiments, put it in the field, and start to build a new large project around it. And that Intel's out saying, remember, we're a year into this, that there are going to be delays. Well, it's starting to look, unreliable, whereas AMD has been hitting targets.
Yeah.
Well, to be clear, it's not perfect. It does some issues. Virtualization on AMD Zen architecture was a big problem, especially right at the beginning. But there's issues too. And those are the kinds of things that on a project-by-project basis, depending on what you're doing with the systems, might make you lean towards one or the other. The big thing here is that AMD looks like a legitimate option and looks like they've got enough of a roadmap that you might want to start planning long-term around them. So that is really good news, because Intel might be pretty happy to collect, $320.99 US from consumers for our Core i7. They would much rather take $32.99 from businesses for layers of millions and pets for large deployments. That's better business. So even in terms of per unit sales, it is much larger in terms of the profitability, because the difference in cost between consumer silicon and commercial silicon is not as high as you might think. Interesting. Dun dun dun. This is supposed to be SC2 from, and the original article here is actually from AMD themselves. In Tuesdays. In 2018, actual results. Revenue increased 53% year over year, and gross margin expanded to 37%. That means AMD is actually selling profitably. I don't know if we know how much of this was buoyed up by the mining craze that has really slowed down significantly now.
Yeah. So their net income for this reported quarter was $116 million. The per quarter was $81 million. Both of those are really, really, really great compared to where they're at a year ago, which is where they had a net loss of $42 million. If you consider the fact that they were negative 42 before, they're like
116.
Almost, they're almost at over 150 million more than they would have been. You know what I mean? Like it's actually quite impressive.
So Sue released a statement. We was an revenue extension as quarterly net income in 7 years. That's like CEO speak for to pay. Yes, we have to set pricing to get people to pay it. This is great. Most importantly, we believe long-term technology bets position us very well in the future. We are confident that with the continued execution of our product roadmaps, we're on an excellent trajectory to drive market share gains and profitable growth. So AMD manages to make their fabless strategy successful. Intel Samsung. I'm trying to think of who else will actually be left who does both chip intellectual property and actual manufacturing.
You're just trying to list, and I was like, there's quite a few.
Well, versus focusing labs like a Global Foundries or a TSMC, or focusing entirely P like someone like ARM. ARM doesn't build their own processors, but of course they're doing super duper well in the mobile age of low power devices, thanks to licensing their designs to other brands like Qualcomm, for example, to produce processors. An actual lab. So Qualcomm doesn't actually fabricate anything either. India doesn't fabricate anything. You've got some of the world's most successful semiconductor companies that don't actually manufacture semiconductors.
Yeah. Does Micron still make SSDs?
So Micron is a partnership with Intel, and they do flash, but I don't believe Micron would actually produce the CPUs. So so different. I would say DRAM and flash manufacturing are kind of separate from IC manufacturing.
Yeah.
Just because I'm facing, I don't think there's anyone other than Intel that actually does both. And there's also Samsung are in both games, but as far as I know, they're the only ones that are left in both.
Crazy. That's actually quite different compared to like 10 years ago.
NVIDIA's next-gen card details. So this was posted by Atlas Raython from this, of course, WCC Facts, so yes, it's a rumor.
Oh, man.
They've got the Star Wars edition card, that looks like. Is that one of the Star Wars edition? Because they're just using it as a placeholder. That is not probably what the card will look like.
Is that why you were questioning if it was Star Wars or not?
I was looking at this here, and I couldn't remember if that was what it looked like. But then I saw the looks like Alliance, but technically it's the whatever the Jedi Order or something. That was so stupid, that whole thing. Galactic Empire and then Jedi Order, even though they never. I did like a whole thing. I pulled people into the boardroom, and I was yelling about it. It was kind of a bit for a video. Like the inspiration for it came from where you arguably said it existed. So I was go about it. And inspiration. I was working on a script with someone about something.
Okay.
This is obvious. We should work this into the
EU now, Linus.
Over here, there's the co-writer Hassan Mujta. I did my best. LBs would be seated within the next generation graphics cards, probably based on the Turing architecture sometime in latest. Blah, 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 blah. Let's not read the article. Let's look at our notes put by James instead.
Star Wars thing. They're relaunching the Clone Wars animated series. And
on the show, I was like, Luke's going to be so disappointed that he's not here. And so it's like, as a fan service thing.
I'm both excited and scared as freaking heck. Because I have not enjoyed the new Star Wars stuff under Disney. So, like, oh, geez. And then that was Disney. Clone Wars, immediately when they bought it. They fixed it partway through a season. Actually, you can get the last episodes. I'm not going to talk about this for too long, I swear. You can get the last episodes, which is like a few of the completed ones from that season. And then you can also find the art and some of the scripts for the episodes that they like didn't really properly do at all. You can find like unanimated scenes and stuff.
Like if it was the Clone Wars team, and Disney came to me and was like, yeah, so we want to close it out. Like, here's how we're doing it. What are the odds that, assuming that you can work elsewhere, because it's been a while now, so assuming you found work elsewhere, what are the odds that you just what you're doing, and you come, yes, Disney, I will come in, I will do it your way. Like, I can imagine that it's going to be a slightly different team working on this.
Okay, so I don't know this. This is an assumption that I have no source for this. I'm extremely unsure. This is beyond rumor. I think the Clone Wars team moved on to Rebels.
Okay.
And then the reason why Rebels feels so different is because Rebels has a lower target audience. Not because it's necessarily a different team. Could be completely wrong about that. So, aggressively don't quote me on that. I think they might have at least the core people still around.
Right, so here's what's going on with NVIDIA's new lineup. Oh, this could actually be very bad news. So apparently, it's decided on the naming, which doesn't seem like it matters that much because ultimately, who cares? It's about FPS. As a general rule, it's a terrible idea. When you correct to have the name kind of make sense.
Yeah.
And with a graphics card, really the main thing that we expect a name to tell us is where does its performance fall in relation to other cards. So apparently, actively considering suffixes like XXX5. For example, GTX 1175.
Yeah.
Or GTX 2070 or 2075. Well, doesn't sound like that big of a deal unless the kinds of suffixes they're considering, like 10-something 5. it's possible that we might get GPUs that don't actually perform that dramatically different from this gen. I don't think they will.
Oh.
I did sort of thing before, like the 275 launched way after the 260 and the 280.
Yeah.
Some architecturally, don't see them launching a new architecture without giving it a clear new series. But if they used numbers that kind of seemed like it positioned them between older cards, I don't know if it would surprise me that much either, because you gotta remember, if NVIDIA holds true to the pattern that has been true since the GTX 680, we're getting big tiering at the initial launch, bring mid-sized tiering. So a GTX 1080 Ti is a different from a 1080. They're different than a 1070R. That's the way it works now. 1080 Ti is a big chip, and 1080 and 1070 are both on mid-sized chips. So we have a new generation mid-chip, which may or may actually perform any better than this gen big chip.
We're gonna actually make a compensator if we get a new big chip. Because we kind of skipped 3.
We did, didn't we?
Sort of.
I think so.
Usually there's like a very opportune moment.
Well, there's no 4-way SI anymore.
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
Yeah. Like, isn't there for specifically benchmarking reasons? I always hate it when people do that, though.
Maybe, but it's really dumb.
It's stupid. It's not as cool.
Apparently, it will initially have 3 brackets. 120 watt, 150 watt, and 180 watt. And what's interesting about that is NVIDIA has, over the last several years anyway, gone with a staggered rollout for their new line. Oh, that piece was a little spicier.
The sweet sriracha?
That piece was a little bit on the spicier side. It's good though, actually. So they've got a staggered rollout. So they've gone like, okay, and then they're like, wait a couple months. Okay, so that's done. Wait a couple months. Here's the next one. Also, them to kind of stretch out their PR coverage. Keeps people from having of GPU news.
Gives us more stuff to talk about.
For 2 years, you know.
Yeah.
What this sounds like is 120, 150, 180. They might be doing a broader refresh. And the reason for doing that might be that AMD is actually relatively competitive, 120 watt TDP range. So let's just and make it very difficult for our one competitor in the space, all in one go. Very interesting. It is that 1080 MSRP will drop by $100, and 1080 MSRP will drop by $50. This is also a solid indication that the upcoming 1180 and 1170, I'm just using those as placeholders, won't really perform that amazingly differently than the ones that they are replacing.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But potential price drops on 1080 Ti and 1080.
That's never a bad thing.
Which happens pretty much every time. It is never a bad thing.
We actually filmed a MacBook Pro 2018 video today, so there's going to be more detail about this and that. But it looks like throttling for the MacBook Pro has been fixed in macOS, so it came as an update to High Sierra 10.13.6. And they've issued an apology to consumers who experienced less than optimal performance on their new 2018 machines. Well, they said that this was a firmware patch.
A missing digital key.
Issued with this update. Anthony's testing shows no performance change in Windows after downloading and installing this, so it seems like it didn't actually make any changes to firmware. And we'll talk in a little bit more detail about that in our MacBook Pro video. Oh, fuck. Facebook's crashed under any crashed before. This is supposed to see from. They were apparently sued today over a disappointing earnings announcement. Okay, I didn't know about that.
Wow.
But it resulted in $120 billion of shareholder wealth, making it the biggest one-day loss in U.S. market history.
Apparently Zuckerberg went down like 2 spots on the world's richest list or something.
Really?
Yeah. This is... I do not recommend going there. I would never recommend going there. And it takes a bit of willingness to read terrible, horrible things to be able to go there. But there is a subreddit called Wall Street Bets. And it's based around... Like, all stock investments is essentially betting, right? But this is based on like hardcore betting. And the idea isn't like, I'm going to invest so I can have a good life leading forward. Their idea is like, I'm going to YOLO so that hopefully I either get a yacht or nothing. And like, some dude is 20 and made like $500,000 off shorting Facebook. And he posted about it there. There's also a dude who had I think it was a $55,000 portfolio, and it went down to 1.2 grand because of this. It's a really interesting read. It's pretty brutal in the comments and stuff. So just if you have a weak stomach for people being vicious, don't go there. And really interesting seeing people who bet super on stocks, and then something like this happens, and just seeing what happens. People losing their entire savings, people being completely for the entire rest of their life. Just like it is like
Stream table, pretty much.
it's crazy. It's a very crazy, yeah.
This was posted aluminium tech on the forum, and the original source is 9 to 5 Google. It is coming to Android, but it is rumored that it will be a Samsung Galaxy Note 9 exclusive. At first,
They must have paid so much for that.
so apparently it's going to be the Note 9, which is set to be announced on the 9th of August, with pre-orders 14th and public availability on August 24th. Looks like it's going to Fortnite exclusively for a month. And there was a thread of this on the forum where people are like, stupid. They think people are phone just over a game. Yeah.
Absolutely.
People are criticizing Samsung. Okay, you can criticize Samsung all you want, but they're saying that Samsung is stupid for doing this.
No.
And depending on how much they paid, which I don't know, depending on how much they paid, this would be actually brilliant.
It's inherently stupid. It could be stupid.
It could be stupid.
Yeah.
Like if they paid way too much, maybe it's stupid. But remember, this is a company that buys Super Bowl ads. So, if they paid $100 million, this is a better promotion than a Super Bowl ad, if you want my honest opinion.
And you were just talking about, like, it might actually influence their decisions. Think about if you're on a contract, how subsidized your phone is. It's just a bit of money, right? So it's a $150 decision. That's going to be about $150 or $0. You pick phone, you get Fortnite, and you get the decision between wireless AKG headphones, which sweet, yeah, you should probably go with that unless you're a crazy Fortnite fan. The option is $100 to $100 worth of V-Bucks in game.
150.
Yeah, sorry.
The other thing you gotta remember is that Fortnite has an enormous fan base. So you've got friends that work at like mobile gaming companies, right?
Yes.
Do you remember? I know you've talked to them about it, but do you remember what they said was the percentage of the users that are your whales?
I don't remember the exact number, but it is very, very small. Less than 1%.
So when you have hundreds of millions of users, though, and you've got these whales that might spend hundreds of dollars a month on the game, to imagine that they might put in a phone so that they can play the game.
Oh, that's no question. Yeah.
No-brainer for the kind of people that are spending lots of money on digital content for games like Fortnite. So we're gonna sell some phones. Don't kid yourself. For example, will fix devices to Japanese feds for free, as giving them some free positive publicity, and hey, that's a good thing.
One quick thing I'm going to step in here with. You just mentioned the tiny percentage of your users are the whales. There's a really amazing story. Ken Lee Ko, a 45-year-old man from Rockland, California, pled guilty to charges of war fraud and money laundering, having been caught stealing $4.8 million from his employer between 2008 and 2015, $1 million of which he spent on Game of War, the mobile game. One thing that blows me about this is imagine literally how many times he would have had to click to buy something to spend $1 million. It literally would have been tiresome to spend that much money on in-game currency.
I'm surprised he didn't manage to lose his job, given how much time he was clearly spending playing Game of War. $1 million on Game of War.
Oh my goodness. So crazy.
All right, this is starting to on the front. Apple announced that it will repair any iPhones, iPads, or iPads. Hey, the iPad owners are getting some love. Nice. Quickly by the devastating heavy floods that swept through Japan this month.
Oh, that's cool.
The flooding has caused hundreds of deaths, and the support goes against Apple's standard repair policies, which strictly exclude water damage. So almost Apple's main plans are eligible, but accessories are not included, and proof of ownership may be required. That's fantastic. Way to go, Apple.
That's very cool. That's probably going to cost them a lot of money.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that, though. Speaking of, that's it for this week. I'm going to the weekend. Play Edmonton.
Not this weekend, but yeah, very soon.
Okay.
Also, I need to fix my back first and my arm.
What did you do?
These are basically. Oh, it's great. My knees are almost fixed. So, I think it's my chair. I've ordered a new chair.
Okay.
The
actually using a horrible
I don't like spending money.
New chair.
Yeah.
It was even started.
So that probably was mid 2016.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah. I did it now though. It's showing up on August 6th. I'm excited.
What'd you get?
I don't want to talk about it.
Is it expensive?
It's very expensive.
Is it Herman Miller?
Yes.
Oh.
I talked to a whole bunch of ergonomic experts. I talked to because there's a history of problems in my family too, so I want to solve it. And that's part of the reason why it took me 2.5 years to order it. It's because I've kind of known the one that I should order for a long time. It's the main one. It's not the one most people buy.
But this is what the chip you'll use for the rest of your life, right?
It has like a 25-year warranty or
Okay,
something.
okay.
Like it's supposed to.
I mean, I'm a firm believer in doing one nice thing once.
Yeah.
So the number of times that I've not upgraded my wireless router since I spent $1,000 on a Ruckus access point has probably gotten me about a third of the way there so far.
Yeah.
And I plan to continue to use Ruckus access point for many years because even though there are new wireless standards coming that will be faster, the devices I'll be able to afford will be able to buy something enterprise tier will be consumer grade, and they're going to have other issues. And quite frankly, my Blade Stealth, I was transferring calls to my NAS at 46 megabytes a second on access point at home 2 nights ago. It is good for me. If I need faster than that, I will plug into a network connection and I will get 10 gig because, YOLO or whatever. Firm believer, if you're going to use something for long enough that you would have replaced it multiple times with commodity garbage in the time that you'd use it, I consider that a solid investment. But you have to pay yourself for the time that it takes to get a new chair several times, assemble it, go shop for it, figure out that you're missing a stupid bracket, go back to the store and go to the bracket wall and find the right stupid bracket, then take it home. Like, there's overhead associated with dealing with buying stuff.
The biggest one I would even say is the downtime.
Oh yeah, downtime's a pain in the butt.
Because if your router goes down, especially for someone like you, like you just did you didn't read the movement and they roll. It's a problem. It can be very, very impactful.
Like, I might not be able to get work done, or I might be live streaming at my house or something back in those days anyway.
If the router went down, I would live here until I got a new one, which would be the next morning because I would need one immediately. Like it's.
Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. We're actually going to be discussing moving WAN Show to YouTube.
Whoa.
Yeah. Maybe we should talk about it on the WAN Show next week. We'll maybe do some pros and cons. We'll talk to the Twitch audience, see what they think.
What about mirrored?
So...
Is that like against everyone's policies?
I think so.
Okay.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It depends.
All right.
Depends.
All right.